Hi, this is just a really quick video because I had a customer ask about mounting the Cling Stamp stickers or labels to the stamps. And a lot of people have had some real serious difficulty doing that. Some people do it and it's just a breeze for them. So I'm just going to put the camera down. I happen to get a brand new one today that hasn't been mounted yet. And so I'll do a quick video and show that to you. Okay, so I'm doing this live on a different channel, but it'll be recorded over in the group. Okay, so hang on just a second. Okay, that looks pretty good. I wish I had the ability to zoom in or get you a little bit closer, but I don't. But I think you'll get the gist anyway. So this is the Pretty Pumpkin stamp, which I've been waiting for. I couldn't wait to get it, and I can't wait to start playing with it. And so when you open the Cling stamps, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see a sheet of stickers, and you're going to see the sheet of stamps, usually face down and with some type of release paper on the edges. Okay? So what I typically do is I get rid of all that. So I start with the outside piece, not that it necessarily matters, but that's just the way I do it. I start with that outline piece, whatever you want to call it. And if the other stuff comes off with it, that's really okay too. Now this foam, which is what gives the Cling stamps or the red rubber stamps their cush, is a little sensitive. So you want to be careful not to dig it with your fingernails, or if you don't have fingernails and you're needing to use like a pokey tool or something, be careful, because if you rip it, once you make a rip in it, that rip could just sort of continue, if you know what I mean. So you don't want that to happen. So I get all of these out of there. Okay, and this has a degree of stickiness all on its own. And to be very honest with you, there are people who never mount the stickers on their stamps, and that idea confuses me just a little bit, only because I'm not sure that I would be able to get it straight if I couldn't see what was going on. Now I tend to start with the biggest and simplest shapes first. And as you see, this isn't the right size, but this will absolutely stick without the label. But then when you look at it, you know, you've got to really be careful to place it just so, and you're just not sure. That being said, when you put the sticker on, you can't put the sticker on all willy-nilly either, because you want the sticker really reflecting the same direction as the stamp, which usually is hard to mess up unless it was a perfect circle or something like that. Okay, so what I do then is I have one of these stamps and I take it out and I find the accompanying shape, which is going to be this one. Now, there are two sides to this. The one that seems like it's the right side because the words are facing up, like this says Pretty Pumpkins, that would seem like the front, but that's not where you want to be. You want to flip it over to the shinier side where you really can't see much of anything. And when you take a really good look at these, I'm going to wiggle this till I see it myself, you're going to see that there appears to be a thin line down the center of every one of these little areas. I think you can see it, especially on this big one here. Okay, so the idea is to peel that release paper off without peeling any of the sticker off. If the sticker starts to come up too, you're in trouble. And what a lot of people do is they either don't know why that line is there, or they think they don't need it, and they go for a corner and they start to peel it up. And what happens when you do that is that very often the whole sticker comes up, and then you're going to have a holy mess. I'm here to tell you. So the reason they make that line in the middle is not just to make it easier for you, but to prevent the sticker from peeling up. So I'm going to hold it well in my hands, and with my fingernail, I'm going to get it till I catch it, and I'm going to peel the release paper off one side, and then without putting my fingers on that sticky part, I'm going to peel the release paper off the other side. And that way, because you're pulling from the middle out instead of from the sides in, none of the sticker comes up. Now, if you start touching this with your hand, this is incredibly sticky, incredibly sticky. And if you start touching it with your hand, it could come off on your fingers. Been there, done that. Everything I tell you, every hint I give you, basically comes from my own mistakes. So I'm going to put this down on a flat surface. Don't try to do this on your lap while you're watching TV. And I'm going to look for something on the shape, which in this case is pretty obvious, that's pretty distinctive or sticks out from the rest of the shape. I'm not sure if I'm making myself clear. So in this case, it's the stem. And then I'm going to find the stem on the stamp itself. I'm not going to go in flat, because if I make even the slightest mistake, there is no turning back. Okay, I am going to get my head over it, and if you end up seeing some of my head, I apologize, but it's the best way to do it. I'm going to go in with the stamp tipped so that the stem is facing towards the stem, but the rest is like an inch off the ground, so to speak. All right, and I'm going to look sideways and all around to make sure that I'm putting down the top of that stem in just the right place. I'm still not letting go though, because now I'm going to switch it to my other hand, and I'm going to again look all the way around and not put it down until I'm sure I'm in the right place, and I'm not going to pull on it in any way. Okay, then I'm going to flip it over and I give it a nice press with my hands, and I'm going to peel it off. Now, if by any chance I didn't do a perfect job, which is okay if it's not perfect, and there's a little bit of sticker hanging over the edge, you could gently trim that off, or you could ignore it. This is extremely sticky, which leads some people to believe they've somehow used the wrong side. It's meant to be sticky, and that's because the previous stamps that we had, which were a red rubber stamp and looked just like these, were just not doing the right job of sticking well, so that you would ink up your stamp and it would literally sometimes fall off into the ink, or as you were making your way from the ink pad to your beautiful pristine piece of white cardstock, it would fall off and blob ink all over the cardstock, and people were not happy, as you can imagine. Okay, so this one, because it's too big, I have something to grab, or too small rather. The stamp is too big for the block. I had something to grab onto. But if I were using a larger block, and this is an exaggeration because I probably wouldn't use that one that big, you can't just grab this stamp like here by the foam or by the rubber and pull it up, because you will literally rip the rubber away from the foam. So again, you either need to find a little end that you can get up, and even if you don't have a fingernail, you can usually just sort of move it up with your finger, and you need to peel it off gently. If you're a person who likes to leave stamps mounted, if you have enough blocks, I don't recommend leaving these mounted, because some people have reported that they end up getting super stuck. You could take the spatula end of your Take Your Pick tool, but you truly have to be careful, okay? Now what does happen, and boy, I wish I could find one to show you, because I know I have some. If you're not putting it down carefully, or if you try to pull it back up after you've started to put it down, is you can create a kind of a divot. Or let's say you're putting it down and all of a sudden you realize you're in the wrong direction, you go, oh, and you move it like that. The whole thing is going to get a big crinkle in this part of the stamp. And what happens when it gets a big crinkle in there, depending on how big it is that crinkle can actually bend the stamp and prevent this from laying flat and stamping properly. So really taking your time and doing this well is worth the time. And then all I do is I take this and I put it back in there. And I usually put it in, I don't know if I always do it the same way or not, to tell you the God's honest truth. I think I usually do put it in this way. But no, I'm not sure, because I don't think I want that sticky side up. So, you know what? I'm lying about the whole thing. What I normally do is once all of those are out of there, I put it back in like this, so that the sticky side is stuck down here, and the part that you stamp with is facing up. So when I'm all done, I flip the whole thing over, because since this does have some sticky of its own, it keeps it in place. Now, some people get rid of this thing and just stick their stamps down to the inside, and that's entirely up to you. I don't do that, because that way if a stamp is missing, I know right away it's missing, and I know not to empty my garbage or vacuum my floor until I found it, because as you know, some of our stamps are tiny, like almost crazy tiny. Okay, so now I'm going to go on to another one that looks to me like it might be kind of easy, and again, I think I'm going to go with the next biggest. And you do want to use some care, not just ripping these out. They're attached in 5 or 6 places. And so I usually put my finger right where it's attached and then pull it, because you basically are ripping some of the red rubber, but not the parts you care about. Okay? And then again, I find that center area, grab it up from the center, and pull it out. And if you think for even a second that some of the sticker's coming up, stop, put it back down, and move to another area. Okay, so, and it's okay if you bend it as long as you don't like bend the heck out of it. So now I've peeled that off, and now I'm going to put it back down on my table, kind of straighten it out. And I think I'm going to want to go for the top. Obviously, you can't put it on backwards because then you're putting the wrong side on. So getting it on like in the wrong direction would be kind of hard to do unless, like I said, it was a very symmetrical pattern. So again, this time I'm going to look at 2 things. I'm going to look at this edge here where the pumpkin stem is, but I'm also going to look at this. Because just like with our dies, just because one part is on straight doesn't necessarily mean the whole thing is. So I try to sort of look at the big picture. So I'm looking at that spot. I'm still holding it up, so all I'm really putting on is just the edges to start with. Because that way maybe I can save it if I make a mistake. Okay, when I'm pretty sure it's right, I put it down, and I'm putting it down gently. I'm not pressing yet at all. Now I switch hands because I'm still holding this up. And then when I'm sure that that's pretty darn good, I lay it down, and then I give it a good press. So, you know, it could take you 10 minutes to get all of the stamps mounted, depending on how many stamps are in the package and how, you know, how tricky they are. Okay, I can't speak to like what happens if you live in a super humid or super dry environment. I know sometimes that's an issue for people with some things. I live in upstate New York, which can be very humid in the summertime, but to be honest with you, I've got the air conditioning on most of the time in the summertime, and of course I've got the heat on in the wintertime. So it's never been an issue for me, but some people live in places where it really is. And I can't tell you what the issues are. All right, so next I'm going to go for this long sentiment. And obviously you want to be careful where words are involved to make sure, and that seems to be this one. So again, I'm going to bend it a little bit and peel from the center out and from the center out. Okay, so this is the stickiest part for sure. The other part is sticky, but not as sticky as this. Okay, and if you were to start peeling the wrong way or think you could just peel this whole sticker off and then start sticking them down, everything would be backwards and sticky in the wrong place. Okay, so here I think I'm going to focus on that. So I'm going to turn it sideways. I might even turn it upside down so I can keep an eye on all these little bumps here. So I'm going to start with that spot there, but I'm also looking at the other bumps. And I'm going to put it down, but I'm not going to do anything with it yet. And then I'm going to gently move it into place when I'm sure that it's right. I almost feel like I'd love to make a mistake so that you could see it, but on the other hand, I really don't want to make a mistake. All right, I don't think I need to show you any more than that. I think you've got the gist, but the top hints are to make sure that you're going from the side that's shiny and has the little creases in it or scores in it, and peel from the inside out. The other thing is when you're all done, don't throw this out, because if you happen to have any stamps that are the old type of stamps, I think they were called clear mount, which was confusing to some people because they thought clear meant clear, like the photopolymer, but that's not what they were. If you have any of those old stamps and you save some of this, as long as you do, and this is what I do, I write right on it, stamp side, which tells me this is where I want to put the stamp down. Okay, if you put even a small amount on the back of another stamp that isn't a cling stamp, it will turn it into a cling stamp and you'll be very happy. We do sell sheets of cling. If you want to have the whole thing covered, you can certainly do that, but honestly, you can just cut some bits and bobs, and I have a whole Ziploc bag full of these, so I know I'll never run out of little bits and bobs of this sticky stuff. Okay, I truly hope that helps, but don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions at all, because you just don't want to mess these up. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I hope it was helpful. Have a great day.